Hello, everyone. Welcome to Growth with Content, a show brought to you by Just Words, a content first digital marketing agency. I am Payal, the CEO and founder of Just Words. In this show, we talk about everything related to content in the context of marketing, SEO, and growth. We have marketing leaders and content specialists so that we can learn and understand more about the processes they follow, the best practices, so that we can create content better. Today, I'm very happy to announce that we have Sneha Pillai on the show. She leads content at Just Words and has over 15 years of experience. Hi, Sneha. Happy to have you on the show.
Happy to
Great.
be here, Payal.
So, I think we are going back to the basics today. We need to understand more from you about how you create content and what, according to you, are the most important processes or principles that everyone should remember while creating content.
Sure, Payal. I would say that the most important thing to keep in mind while creating content are the five C's of content development that we usually follow in our industry. The first one would be customer centricity. It is very, very important to know your audience. It is very important to understand their needs, their pain points, and their interests. Only then you can create content that feels personal and that is relevant to them. So customer centricity is certainly it tops my list. Next would be compelling content. By compelling, I mean good quality content. Compelling content is something that captures your attention and that keeps you engaged throughout the process of content absorption. So, in compelling content, I would talk about things like well-researched content, well-written content. The content should have good storytelling. It should have impactful messaging, and it should offer unique insights. So that is compelling content for me. Next is consistency. So doing a great job once is never enough. You have to keep doing good job every time you are doing it. So consistency is very important, especially in terms of tone, language, voice, posting schedule. All this is very important in building trust and credibility. This reflects your brand image among your target audience. So consistency is of great importance here. The fourth C would be clarity. Keep your content clean, concise, to the point. Write in simple language. Avoid jargon. Avoid complex sentences. Avoid heavy duty words. I mean, basically just keep it easy to digest, and that kind of content is always more impactful. You may say what an expert says, but you have to say it in a way the layman would understand. So that is clarity for you. And last but not the least is creativity. Creativity is essential for standing out. This creativity is exactly what differentiates a human generated content from an AI generated content. This creativity, it brings in your brand's personality, brand's voice, and this is what makes your content memorable for your audience. So these are my five go-to C's for content development.
Absolutely, absolutely. I completely agree with the last point because that's a major thing nowadays. That's what differentiates AI content and human written content, and that is what the brand personality comes out in content. So I don't think that AI can create that. So great. So when we talk about your daily process, would you can you just walk us through the process of that you follow when you probably get content from the writers, or how you process content? What would be the steps? Like, could you walk us through the steps? What is the best practices to before you publish content? What are the things that you absolutely have to check?
While my process starts with understanding the client requirement and understanding the brand's personality. Probably that is the area where I invest maximum time. because everything else that just follows naturally once you know why you are creating this content, for whom are you creating this content, and what is it that you aim to achieve from this content. So that is where I start the process. I kind of go back and understand my client completely. I understand their requirement. After that, the next thing is research. It's about knowing what you're talking about rather than just going and reading about it somewhere and then writing your own interpretation of it. Additional time is invested in actually understanding the subject, the topic, and then comprehending it in a way that makes sense to your target audience.
You mean that before you even go to edit a content, you would advise that you should definitely read up the website of the client or whoever you're creating the content for, and understand the business first, right? And also
Absolutely.
understand the kind of blogs that are out there for the same type of topic, and
Yes.
you take that input and then
Uh,
start your editing. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So, Payal, I may not go and read other material around it that is available online because with online platforms, there is no end, there is no dearth to additional information out there. But
Right,
I would certainly advise going and seeing your client's website, understanding who the target audience is, understanding their style, like
right.
how that client speaks, how they like to portray themselves in front of the larger group, or in front of the target audience, and that should reflect in the final content that is that goes out for publish. Because as an editor, if I just pick a copy and I start editing it, then technically I'm editing it for language. I'm only
Right,
doing language
right.
editing there. I'm
So,
not understanding anything out of it.
right. So, how is it? So your advice to editors would be to first go and check out the
Know
website
your
of
client.
the, right.
Yes,
Okay. Right.
absolutely. So as I said, that these are the two, the first step where most of my time is invested is in knowing this, and second is the research, because sometimes certain industries you could be more comfortable with those industries, the kind of topics, the category you'll be more familiar and comfortable, so it's easier for you to get a grasp of it. Sometimes you could be dealing with subjects which are not really your forte, which may need additional investment in understanding. So once you are clear about these two things, then next is, of course, it's outline creation. Like for any writer, I say that it's very important to start with creating the outline so that you can filter the information that you want to retain in your copy, and you can eliminate all the fluff or even things that may not be too relevant in the current context or in the context of the content you're creating. So outline, then of course writing. So one tip I usually give to my writers is that they should not focus much on self-editing when they're writing. For writers, it should be more about knowing their subject and kind of going with the flow. Only then you get that kind of a flow in your content. So I usually do not insist on my writers being too strict about self editing. Rather, I would give that job to the editors. As an editor, it is my job to see how the thought is flowing, and if it is in sync with the guidelines, if it is in sync with what the client wants. That is where an editor's intervention comes in place.
Right.
That is why you need an editor to edit the copy. And once it passes the editing desk, when editor makes sure that the final product is ready, that is when it depends. It totally depends on the kind of content, the kind of team that we have in place. That it may go for a final review to a proofreader who will just look for any errors, who will just see if it makes sense to a layman audience, someone who does not have any background of this content. If it comes to you, how does it feel? Does it make any sense to you? So that is your proofreaders or that is your reviewers job, and then it just goes out for publishing. That's the process.
Right. I just have one thing, that what is the role of guidelines here? Like when I'm supposed to write, I'm also supposed to be following. Don't you? I mean, how important do you think guidelines are? What the client wants, or maybe the brief that the client is given. Where do you think? How important do you think is in this whole context? for the
Uh,
writer?
while guidelines are very, very important because when we spoke about 5 C's of content creation, we spoke about consistency. And it is, I won't say it is impossible, but then it is nearly impossible to achieve consistency if you do not have a set guidelines in place.
Right.
So guidelines is what kind of creates a boundary around within which you have to create that content. That guidelines tells you the brands or your client's personality, their voice, their brand, how they like to connect with their target audience, what are the kind of words they like using, what are the things they refrain from doing. So, creating a guideline, once you understand your client's requirement and once you understand your brand's personality, you create a set of guidelines which is to be followed by writers and editors and the reviewer. Only then, eventually, when, like, say 5 content pieces come out, they will be consistent. Otherwise, there are high
Right.
chances of kind of a big mix up there.
Okay. Right. Right. And this was for the writers. What would be your advice for editors? What do you tell your editors to do?
Well, the first thing that I would tell my editors, because I'm seeing this trend, kind of there is this latest trend that is coming in the editing desk, that when you have guidelines in place and when the writers are trained and when the writers know what needs to be done, then ideally the copy that comes from writer should be clean enough for editors to just quickly run through and pass. uh, Personally, I'm not up for it. As I said, that the role of a writer in this whole content creation process, it is to understand the client requirement and bring value to the content that is getting created. So the research, the factual consistency, what makes sense, what information needs to be included in a copy, what are the things that you can eliminate. I think those should be the focus areas of a writer. So for the editors, it is about weaving it together, like, and ensuring that the copy is seamless, that it makes sense. Like, an editor should not be worried about factual consistency. That should be the
Right.
writer's responsibility. An editor should not be worried about depth of research. That is a writer's responsibility. An editor's responsibility is that the content flows smoothly. Every paragraph, like, that follows a paragraph, it is in a natural flow, it makes sense. If you are mentioning something, if you are, like, if you bring up a topic, then the next paragraph should actually elaborate on it. There should not be any jerks in the copy, there should not be any abrupt ends in the copy. The copy should be clean, it should be grammatically clean, the language should be easy to understand. Those are the responsibilities of an editor.
Right. So what about the, making the introduction very clear to understand, and making it really engaging? Do you want the writer to think about that as well?
But as I said, that is very subjective, because I have seen that, some people, they are just good at it, and some people, they struggle with it. Not everyone experiences starter's block. It's basically like, when you sit down to write, for some people it's a very natural flow, that you talk about something. And usually we say that introduction should be interesting in a way that if you are writing a feature, then using metaphors is a very good start to your feature copy. If you're writing a report, then bringing up statistics, talking numbers, that is more impactful. So, like though we have these set ideas around how to approach an introduction, there is no right or wrong way of doing it. Yes, I would say that some writers, they're naturally good at it, but most writers are not, because most writers, they focus on all that they have to say in the copy rather than focusing on the introduction. So there, I think, editor can pitch in, because an editor has a third party view. As I said, editor should not be worried about factual consistency, editor should not be worried about research. Editor should be dealing only with the packaging, that the content is, it reads well, it is interesting. And once you read the content, I think it's easier for an editor to come up with
To
a more
correct the
interesting
flow.
introduction.
Right, correct. Okay,
That is
great.
one thing.
I think that was great. I just want to also understand what would be your top recommendations for content creators in 2024. What should they do and
Uh,
what should they avoid?
my topmost to do would be authenticity. As I said, for the past 1.5 years, we have seen this influx of AI into content industry. A lot of people. I mean, all of a sudden, writing has become so easy. I mean, starting from school kids to corporates to even creative heads.
Right.
Everyone thinks that you just have to go and you have to give some good prompts to a good AI tool and you will get excellent content. Uh, how much ever we do it, one thing we forget is that that content lacks authenticity. Anyone who's going there and giving similar prompts will eventually end up getting same content. So what you lack here is authenticity, and eventually, if you rely on that kind of content, you will end up becoming one in the crowd. It will be very difficult for you to stand out. So that is where the whole human content, the
Angle.
human creativity comes in. So be authentic. That is very important for you to stand apart from the crowd, and have an impact and create an impact. And next thing is, of course, audience engagement. We have been talking about it for a while now, but I think yes, as we are moving forward, the whole attention, that attention or attention of your audience on mobile devices is becoming shorter. That span is becoming shorter. So for audience engagement, that is one area that we as content creators should focus on, to make content as creative and as conversational as possible. Some
And also as
Create
concise.
content absolutely as concise, because if you cannot make your target audience pause and think, then you have lost them. That is the only way you ensure that your target audience is with you. Next is value. Focus on value over volume, because as I said, like online platform, everyone has access to it. I mean, nothing is different for any player in digital space. So we already have more than enough volume out there. There's a lot of stuff out there, but what stays or what gains traction is value, not volume.
So
So
pain
focus on
points.
value.
We talk about pain points. So basically, if your content is addressing the pain points of your customer, they will read it. If they don't, if you're just throwing out AI written stuff which everyone's throwing out, then most likely you will not be addressing those pain points.
No, it's very, very tough for you to match your customer requirements and their
Right.
expectations both. Next, I would say is SEO, focusing on SEO. I mean, we all know it. There is no way around it. So it is very important for us to stay updated in SEO trends, the changes that are coming in SEO trends, and create content that aligns with the ongoing trend. So these are the things I would say that we should do. What we can avoid is overusing buzzwords, creating unnecessary noise. I mean, you would have noticed that on Instagram nowadays everyone is a traveler, and everyone is talking about all these amazing spots here and there, and there is so much noise around it that it becomes very difficult to filter what is authentic. And even if you find something interesting, you do not have enough information around it. So rather than just creating noise, rather than just overusing buzzwords, give substance, give value to people.
Be authentic again.
Next, be authentic and give substance. So
Yeah.
avoid unnecessary noise. Again, is inconsistency, because today again, with such popularity of social media platforms and everything, a lot of pressure is there on content creators and on brands to keep keep engaging their audience, but they are not really following a consistent strategy. to have them. So there's a lot of inconsistency in terms of say posting content, what you're talking about. So like, again, if I take example of say travelers, I follow quite a few of them on Instagram. So, I'm following someone for their travel information, for their travel posts. But instead, if you start talking about something else in between, then technically you're losing me there, because I'm here with a purpose to gain this information. So be consistent with what you talk about. Do not talk about too many different things, or do
Right.
not talk about everything you do. Rather focus on one or two aspects of your business, or one or two aspects of what you want to promote at a particular time, and create a consistent content strategy for that particular information or that particular service or product, and then move on to next once you are done with this, rather than talking about too many things in too little time. So these are the things that I would say, steer clear from.
Yes, and please stay avoid AI at any cost. It'll make you a horrible writer. You'll soon get very addicted to it, and you'll stop writing original content. Yeah, I think that part too. Great. That's very nice to hear from you. Thank you for your time, Sneha, and hopefully people have learned something about the process of content creation. Um, thank you for the time, and yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the show. And thank you.